Sunny ways, my friends. Sunny ways.
Your 16 seconds are up. I'm going to ask you again because nobody believes you when you say you don't know how much money your family has got from the wheat group. You've had a month to look into that. You knew you were going to testify here. Again, how much money total have your brother, mother, and spouse received from this organization? How much?
That information has been publicly shared. I will highlight.
Well, then tell me what it is.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
We have recently switched to drinking water bottles out of water out of when we have water bottles out of plastic. Away from plastic towards paper, like drink box water bottles sort of thing. Sorry?
The servicing costs on the debt that you're going to have to carry that you're adding to now, right?
Interest rates are at historic lows, Glenn.
There's the funds.
On the topic, I mean, in terms of your sort of strategy currently, you're obviously taking the populist pathway.
What does that mean? Oh, Justin, you're awake. You made it. Have a seat. Have a coffee. You need some wakey time.
Let's cut that Disney Plus subscription. So we cut it. It's only $13.99 a month that we're saving, but every little bit helps.
A lot of people would say that you're simply taking a page out of the Donald Trump book.
Which people would say that?
Well, I'm sure a great many Canadians, but...
Like who?
I don't know who, but...
Well, you're the one who asked the question, so
yeah.
You must know somebody. Yeah, that's all that's coming off. There's nothing else coming off, yeah. I'm not Justin Trudeau here. Let's fucking go!
Let's fucking go.
Knockout!
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to The Fringe. Welcome to Friday Night Fringe here on the channel, our weekly live streaming show. It's great to see you all in here. Sorry, my apologies for being a little late this evening. I had a little bit of technical difficulties as well. There's no Mrs. Fringe tonight. I think it's important we get that out of the way. Mrs. Fringe is actually taking the long weekend to go camping with family, and she'll be leaving tomorrow morning, but she's, of course, packing right now and getting things together. So her apologies. She will not be attending this live stream. I don't go camping. I'm not a camping kind of guy. So actually this weekend is good because I got a chance to do some YouTube work for you guys over the weekend and get some content out for you this week. And I'm just one of those guys that, you know, I like running water. I like flushing toilets. I guess it's I don't like pooping in cups like some people, and we're going to get into that tonight here on the stream. But hey, it is what it is, and we're going to get into it right here. We got some business to take care of. First, I want to address this because I saw this during the opening with Jen saying they keep saying Trudeau's finished, yet he's still here. Listen, this isn't a clickbait thing. What people have to realize about this YouTube channel is that it's not just news, but it's political commentary. And there are some subjects I want to talk about tonight as to why I think Trudeau's era is not only imploding, but coming to an end, and what evidence I have of that. We're going to get into that in tonight's live stream. So hold in there. It's all about discussion, ladies and gentlemen, not necessarily fact. But let's get into it. Let's get everybody in. Let's do a usual roll call. And as usual, we want to try and get somebody from every province in the country here. Let me know where you're watching from. And if it's your first time here, make sure to put that in the shout outs as well. I will try to get to everybody as quickly as I can. But hey, let's get it all started. If I can't get to everybody, again, my apologies. It's so Stringer saying trailers have all that, Derek. Yes, I know. In fact, the spot where my wife is going, it's a permanent family spot. They all have trailers. Unfortunately, there's fire bans, there's everything going on. I just have no interest in being in a hot trailer. It's not my thing. Jen, it's no problem. I like clearing that up because some people do get frustrated with those titles. I do understand why. Again, I'm not going to say where I'm watching from on other channels sometimes, but I get people's frustration. But again, it's all about commentary. That's why we do these live streams, especially. But let's get on with the roll call, shall we? We've got Lolly coming in from Newfoundland. We've got Root. I'm just going to say Rod coming in from Calgary. I'm sorry if I couldn't pronounce that properly. We've got Mystical coming in, living in Justin's head rent free. There you go. Welcome into the stream. Of course, Mystical coming in from good old Calgary. We got Aline coming in from Sylvan Lake. We've got Robert coming in from Montreal. Welcome in to all of you. It's great to see you. We got Terry coming in from Calgary, Alberta. Scamida, welcome in. We've got Sportman coming in from Baltimore, Maryland, USA. Welcome in. We've got the wonderful Princess Thickness joining us once again from Montreal. Hi, good to see you here. Welcome in. We got the Tune of Lee coming in from Edmonton. We've got Carrie Leggett coming in from Calgary. Jenna coming in from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. Good to see you guys all in the stream. Thank you for joining us this evening. We've got Stinger coming in from, he's talking about AC. I thought he said BC. Again, I haven't got my new glasses yet. They're still on back order. I apologize, guys. It's like reading blurry font all the time for me. I sincerely apologize. But yes, AC, unfortunately, these trailers don't have AC. But watching from Springfield, Missouri in the Ozarks. God, I'm so jealous. David, welcome into the stream. Great to have you here. We've got Red coming in from New Brunswick. Hello, great to see you. We've got Rob coming in, Rob and Rachel Green coming in from Claresholm, Alberta. Good to see you guys as well. We've got Ian coming in from Nor, Ontario. Again, hot as hell. It's hot everywhere. In fact, I had the fan going before this stream because I don't know if you noticed, I actually ran into some time restraints and I'm wearing my hoodie in a hot basement on a summer day. It's nuts, but welcome into the stream. We're all hot tonight. Princess Thickness again joining us from Montreal. We got what joining in? Oh, never mind. Amnesty coming in. Good old Amnesty. It's good to see her here again, coming in from Windsor, Ontario. We've got Ken coming in from Bobcaygeon. Welcome into the stream. We've got Nyla coming in from Fort Saskatchewan, Alberta. Welcome into the stream. Jen's coming in from Toronto, Ontario. Welcome into the stream. We're going to talk about Toronto tonight. There's a little bit to talk about there, but welcome in. It's good to see you. We've got Donna coming in from Calgary. Kyle coming in from St. John's. We've got Chaotic Puppet coming in near Toronto. From Leduc County. Welcome into the stream. Good to see people in from Leduc. Going to be moving up that way probably in the next little while, but it's good to see people in from that way. Danielle coming in from Lethbridge. We've got Raphael coming in from Quebec. We've got Mike coming in from Empire, Ontario. It's great to see you all. Tom Strong, greetings from Alberta's heartland. Welcome into the stream, all of you. It's good to have you in here. We've got the Cretan Bull coming in from the mean streets of Mississauga, Ontario. I don't know how mean they are. I've never actually been to Mississauga, but I hear good things about it. But welcome into the stream. Carson coming in from Slave Lake. LFG's in the chat. LFG poop on a beach. There you go. Welcome. Welcome, Carson. Good to see you back here, as always, into the stream. Welcome in. We've got Anne coming in from Antigonish, Nova Scotia. It means New Scotland, enjoying your show. Thank you so much. Welcome into the stream. Great to see you here. We've got Brian White coming in from Wawa, Ontario. I don't know if you guys know this. I heard a rumor that the convenience stores in northeastern United States named Wawa were after this town. I don't know if that's really true, but it's funny because anytime I've gone down to that portion of the United States, people are like, "What is Wawa?" And you tell them it's a convenience store. It's it's a chain. It's a chain of convenience stores. But people often put it with Ontario. But welcome into the stream. I came from diarrhea. Says what? Well, I mean, I'm sorry. Does that mean you're an immigrant? Is that? I don't know. We're going to get into that tonight. Southwest Saskatchewan, Jordan's joining us. Loving the content. New to the channel. Welcome into the Fringe. Great to see you here. We got Jay Clifford coming in from Washaga, Ontario. Welcome in. What else do we got here? We got new Mike jumping into the channel once again. We've got Jay Clifford. We've got Stinger again coming in from the Hammer in Ontario. Paula coming in from Niagara, Ontario. Jason at Rocky Mountain House. We've got Angela in Nova Scotia. We've got Terry Lee. God, I'm trying to get to everybody, guys. This chat. I see some YEGs in here coming up. Windsor, Ontario's guys. I can't get to everybody, we have to get on with the stream. We have so much to talk about tonight. First, a little bit of business just to put to rest and some things that I want to get into with tonight's show. As you guys know, every Friday, each and every Friday, I live stream here on the channel for Friday Night Fringe. I've recently started doing occasional fun streams during the week. If you were around last week on Tuesday, I had a fun retro night where we played Mega Man 2, and I did a Contra run on the original Nintendo while chatting politics and kind of getting to know people outside of the videos on a personal level. It was a lot of fun. You should keep your bells on for notifications. I don't really have a set night for those things, but I do tend to enjoy going live from time to time. And what else people enjoy doing from time to time, like Rick Robitaille, is being a member for 8 months here on the channel. Thank you for opening. Thank you for this opening for all Canadians. You're more than welcome, Rick. Thank you, and welcome into the stream. Great to have you here. Let's get back to what I was in there. So the streams are fun, but one thing that I have to address is next Friday. Usually I do live streams. Again, there will be no content this Monday because it's a long weekend. A lot of people aren't going to be around on the Monday. So typically on long weekends, I don't put content out on the Mondays, but I do have content coming out on the weekend just to kind of bridge the gap there. So hopefully you guys tune in for that stuff. Next Friday for Friday Night Fringe, there will not be a live stream, unfortunately. I do have some news to share with the channel. I've been talking for quite some time that my wife and I might possibly be moving out of Calgary. This week, the ball got rolling faster than we thought we were going to. We simply talked to our bank about what possibilities would lie in front of us, and they pulled our credit and did a pre-approval and told us, by the way, it's only good for 90 days. So next weekend on Friday, actually, I'm heading up towards northern Alberta, well, central northern Alberta, up into good old Spruce Grove, Stony Plains, St. Albert area. I'm going to be looking at houses with my wife. So unfortunately, there will be no live stream. Maybe I'll do a snap live stream from my cell phone. It won't be like a typical stream, but maybe like a half-hour chill and chat with you guys or something like that on Friday. So again, hit the bell for notifications. It won't be anything fancy. If I do chime in maybe with Mrs. Fringe or have some fun while I'm out around Edmonton area. But of course, I just wanted to update everybody that there will not be a live stream this upcoming Friday, 1 week from today on the 9th. MT, so he's moving next week. No, unfortunately, my wife's job does not allot us a lot of time off, and we only have the 90 days. Now, part of the problem with selling our house, I have 3 kids and 3 kids who have destroyed parts of this home. And in order for me to put this house on the market, I have to replace carpets. I have to paint. I have to do a whole bunch of around the house work. And we need to get the house on the market as quick as possible. And the only time for us to actually get out to Spruce Grove, to these areas to look at homes, was going to be next weekend. So we had to jump on it as quick as we could, get in touch with some realtors and get the ball moving. So we're not moving next weekend. We're simply going to look at houses, see what we think town, if it's a good fit for the Fringe or my Fringe family. And we'll make a decision from there what we're going to do and where we're going to go. But it's definitely very positive. It's something I'm looking forward to. Part of the reason we're leaving, well, the big city does have huge crime problems. We've talked about mass migration or mass immigration before and how that's presenting problems. But the biggest thing of all is opportunities for my kids. When you look at Calgary, even when we sat and talked to the banker had mentioned, and this does get into a little bit of politics, so that's the reason I want to talk about it. The banker had said to me, it's funny because most people in my age group in the 40s, I know I'm old, but they say, your age group is trying to get out of the big cities while the younger kids are trying to stick around. Now, even with the income I make on YouTube through my books, the income my wife brings in from her job, they took a look at us and they told us, well, this is the amount you can get for a home. And surprisingly, we are outpriced to upgrade our home in Calgary, even if we wanted to stay. And that's after having a mortgage here for a decade. It is unbelievable to me that houses in Calgary are that unattainable. Part of the process to lead us out of town was that my wife wanted small town life. She wanted to raise our kids in a smaller community, away from train lines, away from crime, away from expensive housing, so that when they grow up, maybe they hopefully have some other opportunities for them in order to live close by and to afford their day-to-day builds. Now, Spruce Grove, technically, the houses there that we're seeing that are comparable in Calgary are $250,000 less than they are in Calgary. It's just apples to oranges. We looked at it and said, look, we love our home, but when we bought this home in Calgary, we only had one kid. We now have three, and it was a starter home. That home has outgrown us, or we've outgrown the home, I should say, to the point where we want to get an upgrade. And we looked at a new house in Spruce Grove and said, well, we can actually get an upgrade and pay a smaller mortgage for a shorter period of time and own our home. And that was really what the decision was about. And I got a feeling that that's what a lot of Canadians are going to have to think about as things move forward. Is it's not that we can't afford the home we're in, but we beg to ask the question, why? Why do we stay in a city where the politics are crazy, where the crime is crazy, where the taxes are through the roof, only to be disappointed with the day-to-day struggle where we could live somewhere for less and have more disposable income and small town life? And that's essentially what's pushed us to move towards somewhere like Spruce Grove. Now, I'm not saying Spruce Grove is a paradise or that it's better than anywhere else. I've heard people saying it's a bedroom community off of Edmonton. I understand those things, but essentially it's away from the city, even if it's only 15 minutes. And small town life is essentially what my wife is looking for, and I think it's going to be great. I know people are saying there's other places that are even cheaper. I get it. But MT has a good point here. Spruce Grove is close to Edmonton. So again, if you ever need the big city for anything, if you got to do shopping, if you want to, do some fun stuff, it's right there. I can still go watch hockey games if I want to, even if it is the Oilers. I'll go and watch when they're playing the Jets. But hey, that's where we're at. So next Friday, again, no live stream unless I pop on with a fun little live stream from my cell phone. It'll be like guerrilla style live stream. So I'll apologize for video quality right now. But maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll do a fun little pop in live stream. It depends on the kids and how things are going. But as it sticks right now, there will be no live stream next Friday. So just wanted to give the heads up on that, ladies and gentlemen. And for good reason. Not only that, you'll notice that my studio is a little cramped, and a lot of the houses we're looking at again are much larger. I'll have a proper studio. Don't know if I'll keep the arcades behind me, but I'll maybe do like an Unacceptable Fringe style studio that maybe has a arcade with some cool nerd stuff behind me. I don't know, something more personalized. Good things are on the way. Good things are coming. Speaking of good things, I do have some great shows coming up in the future that I want to get everybody informed on as well. I'm thinking about launching kind of like a little mini network here on the channel. I want to do my usual live streams, my usual content, but with Mrs. Fringe joining me, I'm thinking if she gets the confident build enough that maybe she'll start doing some content on the channel that's separate from me as well. And I'm also considering bringing in a good friend of mine who I've known pretty much my entire life. In fact, he's one of the people that I've learned my political views from, that we kind of grew up in the same political atmosphere and the same political minds. He looks and reminds me a lot of Alex Jones. So I think you guys would really like him. So I'm thinking about starting my Unhinged Fringe podcast with him on a weekly basis, just so you guys have some variety here on this channel. And it's not just always my ugly mug that you're coming here to look at. If that's something you guys would look forward to, adding some new kind of shows or personalities to the channel, drop a 1 in the chat. Let me know if you want to see those things. And if you're watching after the stream, leave a comment. Let me know if that's something that would interest you. Because one thing I want to do is, look, the channel was created to essentially entertain people, but also give them their news, have political views and political discussions like we're having tonight. So I think it would be good to bring in some new blood and get people accustomed to some great things on this show. Speaking of which, I've also spoken to a friend through another YouTube community that is in the United States, and we are thinking about doing a live stream because he wants to get into politics, or at least is debating politics. However, he's in the US politics market, and I said it would be great to have him and his friends on the show. Maybe do a live stream where we talk a little bit about American politics and maybe get a little more acquainted with how the American political system works and understand American points of views, because often I've said American politics affects Canadian politics. So keep your eyes open for that. I'm still in the works of trying to get that arranged, but I think it's going to happen here on the channel. Going to be a lot of fun. If you guys have been in the arcade space, the person I, of course, am talking about is the Rexer show. Good old Rexer is talking about coming in for a show with his buddies. Again, nothing set in stone yet. We're kind of working out the kinks, but it'd be great to have Rexer on the channel. If you don't know who Rexer is, go check out the Rexer show. Again, he talks arcades and things from, the political views of, or from the stance of his channel. And he wanted to get into politics and do something separate from arcades on a different channel. I think this is a good start for him. But he does have good points. The thing I've always liked about Rexer is that he tells it like it is. He's not really padding anything, and he doesn't really worry about what people think of his opinions. I think that's a good personality to get into politics, whether it's U.S. or Canadian. So I look forward to having a chat with Rexer, and we'll hopefully be bringing him on the show in the near future. That aside, let's get on to the meat and potatoes of tonight's stream, ladies and gentlemen. Business aside, business done, dealt with. Let's talk politics. Let's talk about, I guess, the point of the thumbnail tonight. One of the things I wanted to really address tonight, and that is Justin Trudeau and his career coming to an end. People have been saying all summer long, and I've covered videos where I have said I feel like the pressure is going to be mounting on Justin Trudeau throughout the summer to call an election. Now, we have seen that pressure mounting. We've seen Chrystia Freeland holding backyard meetings with caucus members that Justin Trudeau refuses to have in his backyard. Most importantly, this week, when we look at Venezuela and what happened over there, we see that a false election has come forward and again raises some questions about Justin Trudeau and why Keean Bexte confronts him on a beach. And of course, he says he's not worried about his polling numbers. Of course, he's going to run again despite his weak polling numbers. It raises a lot of questions about tomfoolery, I guess, or shenanigans when it comes to our next election. But one of the things that's happened recently is Justin Trudeau has had to call 2 very important by-elections. The by-elections, of course, have been called in Manitoba in the community of Transcona, Elmwood. And we have now seen in Quebec as well in Lametti's former riding, because Lametti stepped down from the Liberals. So, of course, they have to elect another representative, and they can't just replace him with a Liberal. They have to actually have a by-election. But now Lametti's seat is up for grabs, and we've seen that Transcona Elmwood is also up for grab in Winnipeg. Now, the reason why for the thumbnail tonight, and the reason why I want to talk about it, is I did put out a video this week talking about it, but I want to get a little bit more into it tonight as to why I think this is the end of Trudeau. If you look at what happened in St. Paul's in Toronto, everybody knows, I mean, anytime you see Justin Trudeau in an interview, it's brought up because, of course, that was a major loss for the Liberals. Everybody says it's just one seat. It was a Liberal stronghold for 3 decades. It was a major seat. And it was a major loss and blow to the Liberals, especially with people like Chrystia Freeland backing the Liberal candidates. That loss of a seat prompted many Liberals to push for Justin Trudeau to resign. In fact, you saw Liberal premiers calling Justin Trudeau out to sign. You've seen news media outlets, including government-paid shield prostitutes, telling him it's time to back up, it's time to get out, it's time to resign, put somebody else at the front. They've talked about bringing in carbon tax Carney, who, of course, we all know what he's going to do if he gets in. Now, Trudeau doesn't want Carney. Trudeau doesn't want to step down. We all know that Trudeau, again, is either planning some kind of shenanigans with the election, or his hubris just knows no bounds. Whatever it may be that's keeping him from stepping down, the pressure is still mounting, because now with these 2 by-elections that must happen, Pierre Poilievre was seen at a rally for, sorry, I don't have the names of, I scrambled to get tonight's stream moving after a delay, but it's an electrician that's running for the Conservatives in Elmwood, Transcona. If you live in the area or know who I'm talking about, throw the name up in the chat. Again, my apologies for not having that ready for you guys tonight. It just makes me look like a hack. But the Conservative riding in Elmwood, Pierre Poilievre, of course, attended the rally. There's a lot of positive pushback on that rally. I don't see Pierre Poilievre taking time out of his summer touring schedule to drop in for a single seat in Transcona Elmwood if they didn't feel they had a chance of winning said seat. Transcona Elmwood, if you're not familiar with the typical voting. Hang on, I'm trying to get in with Mike TV because he's from Winnipeg. If Elmwood, Winnipeg votes Conservative, then you know the Liberals and NDP party is done. That's what I'm kind of getting into, Mike. So this is a riding much like St. Paul's. It's always voted NDP. The last name of the MP there was MP Blakey. Now, Blakey Sr. ran that seat ever since the 80s or 90s, late 80s, early 90s. Blakey's son took over as NDP representative for Elmwood Transcona and has now stepped down. And there's rumblings going on that this Conservative representative has the lead in Elmwood, because now without Blakey and that long-lasting family name at least carrying the torch for the NDPs, people's political views are starting to shift, and people's ideologies of maybe it's time for a change are starting to come into play, especially with everybody struggling to pay their rent. People start struggling with the carbon tax, the gas bills, the utility bills out there. They just can't handle it. Now, ever since Wob, I know I always say Wob Kinu. Some people say it's pronounced Wob Nu. I've heard the media outlets pronounce it both ways. But ever since Wob Kinu came into power in the NDP with the Manitoba provincial government, to a very low voter turnout, I might add, a lot of people who support the NDP aren't happy with the way things are being run. At least that was the kind of vibe I got the last time I was back in Winnipeg, back in May. So I do think that Transcona Elmwood again stands kind of on the precipice of possibly voting Conservative here. I think that there's a very high chance, at least more positive chance, that those residents are going to vote Conservative in this by-election coming up in September. If they vote and that seat is lost, again, this is another stronghold. And while it's not for the Liberals, it's for the NDP. The pressure is going to be on for Trudeau again, saying that it doesn't matter who it was, but if they voted Conservative, this is another stronghold seat being lost. People are fed up with the way the economy is going. People are fed up with the country in the current state that it's in. It's going to put insurmountable more pressure on Justin Trudeau. The biggest one to watch is David Lamette's seat in Quebec. If Lamette's seat goes to a Conservative, or even somebody in the Bloc. Now, the Bloc doesn't really stand with the NDP. The Bloc doesn't really stand with the Liberals, and it's convenient for them. They typically lean more towards the Conservatives. So if that seat goes Bloc, which I doubt it will, or goes to the Conservatives, which are polling high in that riding right now. Let's say, let's do a little Marvel what if here and say, let's say both seats go to the Conservatives in this by-election. That's doomsday for Justin Trudeau. After St. Paul's, after losing St. Paul's, after going through 2 more by-elections and losing seats to the Conservatives, and the reason I think it's possible is that if you look at 338, you can see the current polling for Pierre Poilievre. He's way out front of everybody. So some seats are going to go Conservative. They have to go Conservative, even when we have a federal election, if those polls are to be believed. If both of those seats go Conservative, the pressure is going to be doubled on Justin Trudeau. Step down. Our party is sinking, as you can see by the thumbnail. It's a big deal. I remember putting the video out and people saying in the comments, it's only 2 seats. It's the fact that these are strongholds, just like St. Paul's. And you can see, if you're watching media clips, if you're watching my channel, other political channels on YouTube, they've been talking about it to great extent, that this seems to be what the media brings up every time. And when the mainstream media is talking about it, that's when you know it's serious. Especially when they're talking about people telling Trudeau to get out. When they're asking and grilling Trudeau, why won't you step down? Their paydays are coming to an end, don't forget, as soon as Justin Trudeau's gone. In fact, I had seen some CBC camera people and news media people outside of a restaurant I took my wife to last Friday, on a lunch date, that were setting up during the broadcast of the Olympics, the woke Olympic ceremony. They were outside asking people what they thought of the Olympics. And instead I said, I want to know what you think about being defunded when Pierre Poilievre takes office. Of course, they had no answer for it. They just looked bitter, but their heyday is coming to an end. The writing is on the wall that no matter what happens between now and October 2025, Justin Trudeau is going to leave office. He's going to be voted out unless we see machines do fake counts, unless we see shenanigans, cheating like Venezuela, where Justin Trudeau gets 128% of the vote, or something stupid like that. But the writing is on the wall. And if these seats fall anywhere but Liberal or NDP, it's doomsday for Trudeau. Even if Lamette's seat goes Conservative and the other one stays NDP, it's still bad news for Justin Trudeau. So MT saying 13 months more of this, OMG, we're so screwed. I don't think it's going to be 13 months. I really don't. It's the reason. Okay, so here, I want to chime into Mike TV. By the way, folks, Elmwood Transcona is one of the poorest districts in Winnipeg. If they vote Conservative, the federal NDP coalition is done. That's a very good point. Elmwood, while it's a very beautiful neighborhood. I have friends who live in Elmwood. It is typically the lower income section of Winnipeg, and the working class, I might add, that live in those sections. Typically, it's a lot of retail workers, people who work in like the sanitation industry. We'll say people who work the shit paid jobs. We'll say because it's all they got. Those are the typical blue collar working class people that live in that area. And if they can't handle the carbon tax, if they can't handle their utility bills, if they can't handle their mortgages or their rent, where do you think they're going to vote? The difference is, and where Transcona is going to matter, where Transcona Elmwood's going to matter, is much like it mattered when Wab Kinew was voted in Manitoba. He won because a very small percentage of people actually went out and voted. Now, it's my understanding that Elmwood Transcona is a very active, an active voting riding. So I don't think we're going to have many problems with people getting out and voting. It's typically an older community in terms of the demographic of people living there. So I don't think we're going to have an issue with voter turnout. But if people don't vote, then that's essentially going to make it a toss-up. It's going to be up for grabs. Then they will stop the election. That's just my opinion. So what's going to happen if Trudeau loses these two seats? Now, again, look, everybody's got their opinion. I know people hate the it's overs or, Trudeau's done, but I really want you to think about this in terms of strategy, political strategy, as well as the pressure that's going to be on Justin Trudeau. If you think back to St. Paul's about a month ago when that seat went up, and that every clip that this channel, other channels have shown, again, mainstream press, why won't you step down? Why won't you call an election? Vashi grilling Trudeau. Why won't Trudeau leave? Why won't you step down? Trudeau is having to go on YouTube channels right now to try and drum up votes. He's been on YouTube channels this summer. No politician wants to go on YouTube channels. I can tell you that. I can tell you that from experience. Even though we get some of them on this channel. But the point is that he's scrambling. The pressure has been on him all summer. He's hiding on Tofino from his own caucus. That's how bad it is. You're telling me that if Trudeau loses 2 more seats or even one major one in the next by-election, that his party isn't going to be sitting there calling for his resignation? It doesn't matter if he tries to strum it along. This is where I say, even if Trudeau waits until 2025, ladies and gentlemen, get your popcorn, because it's going to get entertaining. You're going to see them stabbing each other in the back, imploding, crossing the floor, breaking coalitions. You're going to see it all if Trudeau does not step down or call an election, if either of those seats goes to a Conservative. They're going to panic. So when I say Trudeau's time is coming to an end, look, we all know in 2025 it's coming to an end regardless, but I'm asking you to think outside the box here. Think about what really matters with these 2 seats. And again, look at the evidence of what happened with St. Paul's and the pressure that was on him from them. The fact that he's hiding in Tofino to get away from caucus meetings. He knows he's cooked. He knows he's done. It's kind of like the leader of the bad guys in WW2. I know YouTube strikes me for saying his name on the channel. He hid in a bunker at the end because he had nowhere else left to run. Justin Trudeau is hiding in his bunker in Tofino. He's out of places to go. There's no more diversity signaling. There's no more virtue signaling and butt kissing to do. There's no more trips to take and shell out money to people to gain their sympathy and praise. He just gave $500 million to the Ukraine, and everybody complained at him and said, "What are you doing? Jasper National Park's burning to the ground. You're giving money to the Ukraine." He can't get the support anymore. There you go. Smoke says it the best. Dead man walking. How he's walking around. This guy, Justin Trudeau. I know I do a terrible Christopher Walken, but it's DMAC, where's your wife? I kind of announced it at the beginning of the stream. Mrs. Fringe is going camping for the long weekend. Every August long weekend, she goes camping with her family, like her mother, up at a quarter section of land that they have their trailers on. It was tradition when her grandparents were alive. It was her grandparents' wedding anniversary. Her whole family would get together and go camping that weekend. And since her grandparents have passed, her and her mother still go up there, have camping weekends every August long. She takes the kids, has a good time. I take that weekend to stay home because I need running water and flushing toilets. I'm not a camping guy. I can't stand being dirty. It's like an OCD thing. But I also enjoy the weekend break from my kids. Now, this year is going to be a little different because my daughter, Harley, is staying home and she wanted to go see Deadpool. So her and I have tickets tomorrow night to go and see Deadpool and have a little dad-daughter time. Um, it's going to be kind of nice. I get a weekend with just my daughter and a break from my other two sons tearing up the house. In fact, it'll probably give me a chance to get some work done around this house because, as I said, also if you came in late and missed, there's no live stream next Friday. I'm going up to Spruce Grove, Alberta, with my wife to go house shopping. It was unexpected, but things started moving quickly in that department. So there will be no live stream next Friday. Again, keep your bells on for notifications. I may do a guerrilla style cell phone stream while we're up there for fun. Rick Robitaille with a 199 super sticker. Thank you so much. I'm sorry the streaming software I'm using doesn't show that super sticker. But again, I appreciate it. Let's see. Where am I getting to in the chat here? I feel bad because I want to address another thing while everybody's in here with the chat. I sometimes see people in the comments that say, "Hey, do you see my comments? Do you see what's going on?" I've said this several times. I'm looking at the camera when I'm doing these live streams, so I don't always see the chat. Sometimes I get a minute to look down and see what's going on. Keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, after the streams later at night, I do go back, I do watch the live stream and go through the chat, so I make sure I'm getting everybody's chats. You are seen. I do see you. So if you do have questions that I don't answer, make sure you put them in the chat anyways. I will get to them at some point, or I do see them and I do acknowledge that I might talk about them on another stream. So please don't feel ignored. I do eventually see them, but I just wanted to clear that up because some people think I'm ignoring them. I'm not ignoring anybody. It's when there's 450 people in the streams or more, it's hard to keep up with everybody all the time. JD saying Deadpool was amazing. Just watched. I absolutely loved it. I'm not going to spoil anything for anybody who hasn't seen it. I'm looking forward to our next viewing of it tomorrow. Of course, I needed a second viewing. How deep do you think the corruption is? I mean, that's like asking how expensive do you think life can get under Justin Trudeau? It's deep. It's bad. Darren saying, I'm looking forward to meeting you possibly in Spruce Grove. I'll be out and around. In fact, maybe I'll even post watch for the community boards. If anybody's around Spruce Grove, has my books, wants to get them signed or just meet up for a minute. I'm supposed to go to some place called the Tri Leisure Center, I think it is, Sunday with my kids just to get them a little more familiarized with what's around Spruce Grove. I've heard the Tri Leisure Center is amazing. So maybe I can meet up there for half an hour and meet some people in and around. I know I have viewers in the Edmonton and Spruce Grove area, so maybe we can do that if that interests people. Xylo, acknowledge me. There you go. You've been acknowledged. Welcome in. It's David Brown. Are you sure Deadpool's okay for your daughter to see? It's not a kid's film. So first off, my daughter sits and watches YouTube shorts all day. I've seen Deadpool. I went the first time to make sure. It's mostly cussing and swearing. And yes, out of all three of the Deadpool movies, I think this is the least worrisome. I don't have a problem with my 10-year-old daughter hearing coarse language because her friends use it when she goes to school. She talks. I'm assuming she would talk like that with her friends at some point. Not that I want to know about it, but come on, guys. If you grew up like I did in the 80s, 90s, kids were talking like that on the playground at a younger age. It's just part of life. I find that if I shelter my daughter from those things, she'll go and watch it anyways. She'll find a way to watch clips. She'll find a way to see certain things. I'd rather take her and be there with her so that if something bad were happening in a movie, I could at least say, you understand this is fake. You understand that this isn't the way the world runs. And sometimes it doesn't hurt, again, just to cut a little slack. I remember being about 10 or 11 years old. The first time my uncle let me watch Predator, even though it was an R-rated movie, I really wanted to see it because I loved Arnold Schwarzenegger as a kid. And he picked it up from the video store one weekend when I was staying at the house with my cousins, and I got to watch Predator, and that was probably one of the greatest weekends of my life. Um, it's I don't mind doing that from time to time. I don't let my kids watch graphic nudity or gratuitous violence or things like that. But hey, if it's coarse language and stuff, I don't mind from time to time. It's it's good. Wayne chiming in. Keep up the great work for what you do from Vancouver Island. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Robert, LOL. I was 8 years old. My parents let me watch the first Exorcist. My goodness, I um I I find that like when I was growing up, one of my friends down the road, his brother and sister were both managers at a video store. So they used to get screener movies before they would come out to the video store in public. And we used to sit around watching a lot of different movies. Like we watched Revenge of the Nerds when we were teens, like pre to early teens. We watched Terminator 2 when it was still in theaters, just about to come out on video. Pulp Fiction, like all kinds of movies, and I found that it enriched my life because I knew the difference between real and fake. I also knew not to go home and cuss in front of my parents or at school in front of my teachers because it was a respect thing. So I feel that, and I'm not saying I'm 100% right because there is no manual when it comes to parenting, but I take a relaxed approach because I find that if you tell your kids don't do something, typically they'll go and do it. So I would rather be a little more open with my kids to the things that I am content with, that I could say, I hope you feel comfortable that if you ever have a problem, you can come and talk to me, that I'm open minded, that, it's not to say that I let my kids run rampant or I let them do drugs or anything at a young age or drinking, but kids are going to be kids. And again, it wasn't too long ago that I was a kid, and I get what it's like to sneak around and think that you're being, crafty when really your parents know what's going on. I'd rather be involved in my kid's life so that if there ever was a problem, they'd know they could come to me instead of hiding. It's it's crazy. No meat for athletes, worst virtue signaling of all time. I want to get into the athletes because we talked a lot about um there was a Wolverine scene that will blow your mind, put tears in my eyes. If you're talking about Deadpool Wolverine, yes. So my daughter and I both cried when we watched Logan, which I still think is one of the greatest superhero movies of all time. But yes, they're um, they're good. My dad did reverse psychology. I would come to him with a stupid idea, and he would go, "Sounds good." Well, there you go. I used to come to my dad and say I did something stupid, and he'd always say, "Play stupid games, win stupid prizes." I mean, that's how we learned. It's funny because I know it's off topic, and I will get back into the politics in a second. But I even watched a video on YouTube the other night with my wife, and my kids were around, and it was, yeah, sleepaway camp. Here we go. This is going to turn into like Tuesday stream where it's all nostalgia. I'll stop reading those comments, but the video I watched with my wife was about things that kids in the 80s did that would be too risky today, or that isn't frowned upon, or they don't do. And they were talking about how seatbelt laws were just coming in the 1980s, and kids used to ride in the backs of station wagons or pickup trucks and how dangerous it was. They talked about sneaking onto the phones and tapping conversations and twisting the phone lines around your hands and your face. Again, little quirky things that people used to do in the 80s. Playgrounds that were made of metal that would scrape and scratch you or burn your skin off in the middle of summer, where now it's all plastic. There were a lot of good comparisons in that video, but it's funny because, you know, the things they were talking about, like kids going outside or being told after Saturday morning cartoons, get out of the house, go free roam, go find something to do, come in before the lights turn on outside. That was a great way to grow up. And it was amazing to think about how much freedom and trust I had as a kid. I know that I can't give that same freedom and trust to my kids today because of the internet, because of the way society is with, PDF files all over the computers and stuff. But I still try to give them as much as I can so that they feel comfortable enough to know we don't judge, um, and they can talk to us about anything. That getting on, I do want to get into the Olympics because I keep seeing people mentioning it. If you look at what's going on in the Olympics, I posted on Twitter, and I've been in this all day on Twitter. This man who beat the crap out of an Italian woman. Now, there's a lot of people going back and forth, even in my videos, saying this is not a biological man. She was born a woman, and she has XXXY chromosomes. I'm going to state something one time again on this channel, and I hope I never have to state it again. I'm comfortable with whatever you want to be, but as Dave Chappelle says, to what degree do I have to participate in it? I'm a guy of science, like real science, not government science, but real science. There's 23 chromosomes in the human body, XX and XY. If you have XY chromosomes in your body, even if it's a weird once in a lifetime disease or situation where those things come up or pop up, if you have XY chromosomes in your body, you're a man. If you have XX chromosomes in your body, you are a woman. Your skeleton, your pelvic region of your skeleton is shaped a certain way that if people dig up your skeleton 200 years from now, they could tap your DNA and say, this is a man or this is a woman based on the DNA of your chromosomes. That's actual science. Now, people are saying, well, she's a biological woman who just has this rare condition that has an XY chromosome in her body. You call it whatever you want to. If this person tested positive for too much testosterone, in my mind, that's no different than using steroids. It's cheating. If you watched that fight, if you watched what went on, this girl got pummeled. What was it, 36 seconds or 42 or something like that? I mean, she had to stop the fight twice. There's pictures going around online showing possible junk on this boxer that she's got a wang. I don't really care what's between your legs. The biological tests show XY chromosomes. You should not be allowed to compete with women in that sport. We've now seen this Taiwanese boxer come out who's clearly a dude today, beat the crap out of another woman. I'd really like to see these two face off against each other for the gold medal. David saying this the Albanian was a dude, not a woman. Absolutely, they're both dudes, and that was the argument that I had when I was talking to my wife about it today. Not an argument. It's not like she was disagreeing with me, but what we were talking about was I said, you know, everybody's talking about, and I'm sorry I didn't pull up the names of these boxers, but the first boxer who beat the Italian, like they're saying this is a rare condition. She's a biological female and has this rare chromosome. You're telling me that two boxers in the Olympics at the same time both have this rare condition, that it just happens to be there, that it's so rare that two people just in the same sport nonetheless have it? And I know I've talked to some people who say it's a gray area, you know, and I get what they're saying, but the thing is that if you exhibit any form of an XY chromosome, it should just be an automatic, no, you're not competing with women. And it's not because of biology, it's there's rules. There's a men's and a women's league. XY's male, even if it's a condition, you're out. Don't be a boxer. If you're going to be a boxer and they'll allow you to box in a league or a federation, go ahead and box in that, but you shouldn't be allowed to compete in the Olympics. I don't care what anybody says. My stance on the whole subject, and people can unfollow me if they don't like it. And I said the same thing on Twitter. Biology is not malleable. There are only two genders on this planet, and I'm not going to play pretend to avoid hurting your feelings. That's live your best life so long as you're not harming anybody, but I don't have to acknowledge your make-believe world in order for you to, you know, feel good about yourself and go home and pat your bum. That's not how life works. Life's hard. You don't get any special privileges because of it. You don't get any special passes in life. You get the same life and rights as everybody else. We're all equal. If you're going to tell me that there are two people with this rare genetic disorder that are both in boxing, both in the Olympics, I'm not buying it. Especially after the woke opening ceremony that they put on in the Olympics. You're telling me that this has nothing to do with that agenda? I've heard people arguing Michael Phelps, saying, hey, he's got a disorder that gave him longer arms. He's got the webbed toes or whatever. He can compete better with men, but he's competing with men. He's not swimming against women. He's competing with men. And if the Olympics are going to allow that, that's again on them. And if there's people saying that's not fair, I'd be prepared to listen to that. I'm not disagreeing with it. I'm saying that there should be a standard of rules with the Olympics, and people will say, well, there is, and they allow Michael Phelps to compete. Fine. Well, then it's no different than this. Yes, it is, because this is men competing with women. Big difference. What was it Elon Musk said when talking about Kamala Harris this week? That Professor Sugon D's nuts has ruled in that that's not allowed in the Olympics. We should get a sponsorship from Professor Sugon D's nuts on this channel, because it's so new Mike is chiming in. I'm going to get onto this too, because the solution would be for 3 categories: men, women, and trans. Problem solved. Absolutely, if you wanted to go that route. Now, somebody who I respect, who I actually have spoken to and met in public in the online community, is Rupa Samanyara. She tweeted out that in India, they actually recognize 3 genders, that there's male, female, and those in this situation, like the boxer, who have a mix of XX and XXY chromosomes. That they don't call it trans, that you're not allowed to transition in those countries, but India recognizes it as a 3rd gender, and that when they compete in sports, there's men's, there's women's, and then there's this league, much like New Mike suggested. And I'm all for that. But what I'm saying is, and what I said to Rupa, that with all due respect, there's only 2 genders. If India wants to play make-believe and say there's 3, just because somebody has a disorder, that's your prerogative. That's your make-believe. That's what you want to pretend exists. It's no different than us in Canada saying that you can identify as a cat and we'll call you a cat. I mean, I said to the same extent, I guess I'll identify as trans financial. So the government is bigoted and phobic if they don't give me $10 million. Right? That's how I identify, trans financial. Give me my money, or you're phobic. By their logic, I shouldn't have a problem getting that money. And that's the problem when you say, well, India does it. Well, India's just playing pretend like the rest of it. There's 2 genders. 2. That's it. It's I identify as Elon Musk. It's, Rick saying, thank you, Jordan Peterson. Look, Jordan Peterson, the one thing I love about him, and the one saying that he's always had that people always quote, is that in order to tell the truth, you have to risk being offensive. I'm sorry if it hurts your feelings that that's the stance that I take. And many people could say, a couple of decades ago, people said the same thing about the gay communities, that, if you sit on a toilet seat, you could get diseases and things. Look, it's not that. We're talking about basic biology here. We're not talking about bigotry. We're not talking about hatred. Like I said, I'm very open. You can live your life however you want. You can tell me I'm a woman and I think I'm a man, and I'll say good for you. I'm not going to acknowledge you as one. I'm not going to play pretend to make you feel better, but if that's how you see yourself, go ahead. My kid tells me that he thinks he's Buzz Lightyear sometimes. I'm not going to call him Buzz when I see him. I'm not going to encourage that kind of behavior. I'll play along for a little bit because he's a child, but do you get what I'm saying? Like last week, my kid thought that he knew how to build a house. I'm not going to give him a lot and tell him, here's a couple bags of concrete and some lumber. Please, no more poop. Are you talking about not talking about the poop? Because I do want to address it a little bit tonight. We're going to address a little bit of poop gate. Jenna Rose says it's a mental illness. Now, Jordan Peterson has talked about that many times, that gender dysphoria is a registered, acknowledged, diagnosed illness. And the problem is that it's no different. And this is, again, my personal view. It's no different than standing in on an alcoholic and saying, well, we're going to have an alcoholic in the house and keep liquor in the liquor cabinet. Well, you're enabling them when you do that. And if you sit around with somebody who has gender dysphoria, legitimate gender dysphoria, and encourage that behavior, then you're enabling it. You're enabling them to accept their dysphoric view on the world. And that's a major problem. I never thought we'd get here in life. I never really thought as a kid, as a teenager, even a young adult, that we'd get to a point. And keep in mind, like, we had seen drag queens as kids, and I remember thinking The Birdcage was one of the funniest movies I ever saw with Robin Williams. Those things existed, but people weren't. Drag queens never once said, "I'm actually a woman," even though I got a tallywhacker. Um, it was just, they're drag queens. That's what they do. One of my former employers, my boss, was a drag queen. He was also in the gay community, and he was a very convincing drag queen. In fact, they were all looking at pictures of him dressed as a woman, and I came into work one day and said, "Who's the hot chick?" And everybody laughed at me because it was my boss. But you couldn't tell. You could not tell. But I talked to him about it once because that's around when those things were starting, when people were starting to say, um, this is how people view themselves and see themselves. And I asked him, "Is that true?" And he said, I'll tell you, as somebody in the community, he says, "I hate it when people say that." He said, "I like doing it because it's kind of like seeing how far I can push the envelope, how convincing it can get. And it's fun for me. It's like a hobby." But he says, "I know when I go home at the end of the day, I'm a man. I'm a gay man," he says. And I said, "Good for you." Like, I was happy about it. I'm happy for him. I'm happy he's happy. He's a very successful man. Um, and I wish him no ill will. Live your life how you want to live. You're not hurting anybody. You're just having fun. A little deceptive with those photos, but he's having fun. It's drag queens are a form of performer. Yes. Yes. It's when it comes to sport, there's many things to consider here. Men typically have more muscle mass than women. Um, Women have less bone density. They're built different. And that's not sexist. There's a reason women don't play hockey with men. There's a reason women don't play many contact sports with men, because they would be completely demolished. I mean, if you're going to tell me that you could put uh, the Chicago Bulls up against any team of the WNBA and that they wouldn't be absolutely destroyed, is appalling. That's just genetics. And there are women in the WNBA that could run circles around guys like me. So I'm not saying they're not talented. I'm not saying they can't play basketball. There is a genetic difference between men and women. And part of the Olympics, if you want to have woke sports, go ahead. Do that in your own leagues. Do that where you're doing whatever. The Olympics were designed as a test of strength to show the maximum fortitude people could push their bodies in the pursuit of perfection, for recognition, to be the best in the world at something. There's a reason they had men and women's sports, because it was designed for them to compete against each other, not literally against each other. I haven't watched the Olympics in a long time because I cut my cable cord decades, and well, about a decade ago, I should say. Not decades, but a decade ago, roughly, I cut the cable cord. So I don't watch Olympics or anything. Sometimes I'll catch highlights on YouTube or something if I'm flipping around and I see something, or like I said earlier on my videos, when the Winter Olympics are going on, if the hockey's on, I'll sometimes check out the hockey or something. But I don't make it my effort to go and check out the Olympics. Yes, David, I am aware that the Olympics were originally for men only. I get it. What, do I look like a caretaker? I don't know. I don't know when other people start their shows. Wasn't he fleeing somewhere? I don't know. That's Let's talk about some poop, shall we? Let's get into poop. Because this is more appalling to me than the Olympics. And I'm really hoping this is the last time we have to talk about it. It really, like, I'm not taking any enjoyment talking about this stuff on the channel. There's, how do I say this? I'm trying to think how to say it in a nice way. Because I get it. I come across as a bit of controversial at times or heated. I think some of you like that, but and it is a crappy topic, Arthur. Yes, it's a crappy topic. Look, let's get to it at face value. If you watched the channel earlier this week or watched anybody's channels, you've seen Poopgate going on. Essentially, people pooping in the streets, people defecating on beaches, people uh, digging holes in the sand and burying their poop and used diapers on beaches. Now, I talked about it last week on the stream that, from my own personal experiences, when I go to Sylvan Lake, Alberta, to visit family, we'll go up and down the beach during the summer. We actually go to a separate beach in an area called Jarvis Bay when we go out to Sylvan Lake because you can't get on the main beach. All the people from Calgary and Edmonton that flood to Sylvan Lake over the summer take up the main beach. But typically on the east end of the beach, we'll say on the main drag of the east end of the beach, you'll see a lot of East Indian families bringing their massive tents. Like I'm talking like the military grade 50 people tents, putting them up on the grass, and they bring charcoal and their own private barbecues, and they cook on the beach. They block the stair access for people to get down from the grass areas onto the sand. They've had bylaw getting involved, and this isn't a racial thing. I've been there watching it happen. I've also watched Colin P with a $100 super chat. What up? Love this channel. Colin, my goodness, you've been so generous this week. Thank you. The $100 super chat. My goodness, that's very generous of you. Wow. Speechless. I never know what to say to those super chats aside from thank you. And I don't know how to push my gratitude forward anymore, but that is very, very wow. Thank you. It's not a racial thing when I say that this is East Indians. It's just the way it is down there. But bylaw has had to come in to tell them pick up your garbage when they're leaving. They dump their charcoal next to the garbage cans all over the grass in the area. There's people in Sylvan Lake, their property taxes are actually increasing. I spoke to bylaw last time I was there because it sparked my curiosity. We were there early July because typically I'll go up there for a day every summer and like rent a Sea-Doo, take my kids out on the water and have some fun. But I stopped and talked to bylaw and said, is this an ongoing problem? Do you guys see this happening? And they said the charcoal is the worst and people's property taxes have actually gone up because they're having to replace the grass. The grass is getting scorched by warm charcoal that's still around the area. It's killing the grass. But they said, not only that, somebody's got to clean it up. And that costs the city resources, revenue. It's somebody's job to take care of that. And they said, we could put signs out, we could do all these things, but there's only so many bylaw officers that can get to these problems and deal with it. And they are clamping down. I'm not going to say they're not. They're starting to clamp down a little bit more as to how large the tents can be. People cleaning up their messes or not. But that's what I see at Sylvan Lake. It's the Sylvan Lake community bylaws they are breaking, but the bylaw officers are afraid to enforce the law because they'll be labeled racist. I was just getting to that, Music Sanctuary, but thank you for chiming in. That is essentially the problem, and that's part of the problem that we've seen when I reported on what Rebel News was covering on Wasaga Beach with people digging holes in the sand with poop. Now, if you watched the video earlier this week, and again, I hope you guys went and checked out the clip Rebel News had covered with David Menzies because it was fantastic. But essentially, the woman who put out the TikTok whistleblowing people digging their poop up on the beach or kids stepping in it had a visit from the police, from the OPP, saying somebody had complained that it was hate speech, that it was being a racial hate speech over East Indian people shitting on the beach. There's no laws against that, but I said in the video, and that's where this is a slippery slope. Justin Trudeau's hate speech laws, when you look at his protection for children on the internet, it's not about protecting kids. They want you to get arrested and in trouble for saying these things or speaking out about the country falling apart because of Justin Trudeau. He doesn't like the criticism. But an OPP officer visits this woman and says, so apparently there was a video out. Now, you know that a high-ranking person sent that OPP officer, because I can tell you right now. And in fact, I double-checked with my friend who's in the police service, and he said they would not make that call unless they were told to by somebody higher up. The police would not waste their time or their resources, especially by the claim that the officer gave that he said, I haven't seen the TikTok myself. I'm just here to ask you about it. So the cop didn't even know the discussion of what was going on in that video or the topics being discussed in that video. He was sent there to essentially intimidate this young lady that, how dare you put out a TikTok exposing what's going on at this beach? Now, he had told her that they have no reports of people doing that it's all racist claims. But again, you have David Menzies going up to bylaw and park authorities in that video asking them, are you aware of this? Yes. The mayor of Wasaga Beach saying, this doesn't happen. We've had no reports. It's all, you shouldn't believe everything you hear on the internet. Well, now they've acknowledged that, yes, we have multiple reports of this, that it is an ongoing thing. And even though there's toilets all around the area, there's facilities everywhere, they're still doing this. And the reason they're doing it isn't because they're lazy. It has nothing to do with culture. They don't care. They don't care. And we've seen that evident in videos that come out this week about guys dropping trowel and pooping at a gas station pump in Brampton. You look at former MPs coming out from the Liberals saying, I own that property. There's no way this is happening. It's racist. It's photoshopped. What's funny is they claimed it was photoshopped, and people said, look, you can see the guy's reflection in his car. It's not photoshopped. But, and if it was Photoshop, people were saying this is Spielberg level Photoshop work in order to prove a point. Give that guy a job in Hollywood. And then video comes out showing, look, there's video of it. Now they're saying, well, that's AI generated video. You guys are all racist because they don't want to admit it's a problem. I showed a video that Kean Bexty had forwarded of a guy taking a dump in Niagara Falls on somebody's lawn. That dysentery is happening around the country now. That an outbreak of dysentery from people just pooping everywhere. Did anybody watching this stream think we'd ever get here? Did anybody think we'd ever be talking about this at any point in your lifetime? People crapping on beaches and in the streets? Should we really have to explain that to newcomers in Canada? Hey, please don't poop on our streets. Don't poop on our beaches. Use toilets like civilized people. I know the guy who took the picture, it's not fake. No, the video came out, it's not fake. We all know it's not fake. But this is insanity. It's crazy that this is where we are now. I think, like I said, I hope I don't have to talk about it again because this is where we are. Yikes. Xylo got it right on the head. I don't care what color you are. Pooping in public is bad. Of course it is. Only Ozzy Osbourne peed in the Alamo. Yeah, but it just, like, the problem is bigger than poop. It's how our country is being treated, how it is seen, the disrespect that we're getting. When you look at the protests that flood our streets these days about wars that we're not even involved in, telling our government they must do this, they must do that. You're a guest in our country. We don't have to do anything. And this is where I talk about my trip to the United States earlier this summer, that I wish we were a lot more like them, where we started telling people, shut up. We don't care. This is Canada. We're not going to take that. I wish we could be like that. We need to be like that. And I hate saying it because I don't have a racist bone in my body. I am not a racist person. But if I went to India, I wouldn't be telling them how to live their lives. I'd have to accept that, hey, I'm in a foreign country. This is how they live. I have to adapt or I have to leave. Now, while we're on the subject, there was a video I put out today that showed a clip of a man who said, stop using our streets as toilets, stop pooping on our beaches. And of course, he said, no, I'm going to stay here. We're going to marry your women and poop on your beaches. We're coming. There's nothing you can do about it. And people said, hey, that's actually a shortened clip. You know, other channels showed the full video of that. Now, first off, I want to state first and foremost, look, the video was forwarded to me. And of course, I said, wow, I got to talk about that because I still have to address people pooping on our streets. But when videos like that are forwarded to me, I can't always take every clip people forward to me and sit down for multiple hours on end and go, is there more to this video? Is there something else going on with this video? What's happening? Now, I usually try to do my due diligence when it comes to clips, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not lazy, but if I did that with every single clip, videos would never get out. Now, I will acknowledge that, yes, the man in term was in fact joking, and there is a clip of him afterwards saying he doesn't agree with it. He was joking. But the problem is that the context of that video is reality. That's the actual, while this is exaggerated from this guy, and he says he's not even Indian in the video, he was doing an Indian accent. But when you look at East Indian, I don't know about where you live, but I know in Calgary, that is the common perception from them, that this isn't your country anymore, it's ours. And we're going to do what we want. And if you don't like it, too bad. And I think a lot of that has to do with us being nice Canadians. What are you guys going to do about it? We'll just do what we want. I mean, I've said it before. There are actual neighborhoods in Calgary where they won't sell houses to white people. Mrs. Fringe was talking about it before. It's a community named I can't even remember, Taradale, I think, in Northeast Calgary. They won't sell to white people. Their real estate signs are in Arabic. Isn't that against the law? Isn't that discriminatory? Don't we have a charter that protects things like that? Like, that's what blows my mind, is that we just let so much go and say, well, we don't want to, and it goes back to what we were saying at Sylvan Lake. The police, they don't want to be called racist. They don't want to call this out. Everybody would rather call everybody racist rather than doing their jobs or calling a spade a spade. If a white person's doing it, arrest them, fine them, lock them up, do whatever you have to do. If anybody's doing it, not just East Indians. But if I go to somebody's house and drop my trousers and piss all over their carpets, I'd expect them to tell me to leave. I wouldn't expect them to say, oh, well, we don't want to offend poor Derek. I mean, he just urinated all over our carpets, but we'll let him stay. We want to be hospitable after all. They'd say, get out. Don't come back. You clearly don't know how to behave in someone else's house. And that's in Xylo again. We need to stop being scared of words. And that's the thing, is that as Xylo mentioned earlier, I don't care what color you are. But we have to start being a little more upfront. And I'll tell you, that's one of the reasons why, when I mentioned earlier, my friend Rexer that I was talking about bringing on the show from his arcade channel, getting into politics. Like, he told me, he said, I'm kind of anti-Trump, and I don't know if your audience is going to like that. You know, I have my views because I'm an American, and I've seen the way some things are run, and I don't like the way certain things go. And I said, I'd still like to hear those opinions. I think we can have a conversation and agree to disagree on certain things. I think it's appropriate to talk about those things, because I don't care what color you are. I don't care where you're from. There's right and there's wrong. There's good and there's bad. But you can have discourse. You can have differences and still meet somewhere in the middle. But if we're going to sit around and be quiet and mild-mannered about everything, we're never going to get anywhere. You have to be like Rexer. You have to stick to your guns. You have to say, I'm not afraid to say what I'm thinking, and I'm not afraid to offend you. Again, I'll go back to Jordan Peterson's most infamous quote. In order to tell the truth, you have to risk being offensive. And it doesn't mean that you're a jerk. But we all have a God-given right of free speech. You have to use it correctly. Now, as soon as you turn on your internet troll mode and start telling people, hey, you shouldn't be pooping on my streets, you piece of crap, that's no way to have a conversation. But if I saw somebody crapping in the streets, I'd say, hey, what are you doing? You don't do that here. You don't do that in my country. What's wrong with you? Shame on you. I wouldn't attack them, but I'd definitely let them know, hey, I'm not happy with you. And if they say, well, I'm used to doing this in my country, then that's where you can have your discourse. You can say, well, we don't do that here. This isn't your old country. Kindly don't do that again, sir. There's the old line. I forget what movie it's from, but I know it from Guns N' Roses Civil War. What we have here is failure to communicate. I know I'm bad. I know the name of the movie's on the tip of my tongue. And I know it's a very famous quote. She did not put diapers under a sand. There's a thing called a diaper bag. I'm assuming that's a mistype, but yeah. Look, I've had kids recently in diapers. You just you bunch them up, you stick them like the little Velcro tabs, you do it like a ball, put it in a plastic bag. But if you don't have plastic bags, put it in a Walmart bag, like the reusables, throw it in a garbage can when you're leaving. It's not that difficult. Like being at Sylvan Lake again, I can contest that there's multiple bathrooms frequently along the beach. I mean, look, I don't like using public bathrooms. In fact, anytime I go, I often do what I call the hover. You know, like I won't actually sit down on the toilet because it's a germ thing for me. I'm a very, and it's part of the reason I don't go camping with my wife. I'm a bit of a germaphobe. I like being clean. I like constantly, like at least one shower a day kind of thing. I'm very much germaphobe. But I'll still go to the bathroom. Cool Hand Luke. That was it. There we go. I knew it was on the tip of my tongue. There we go. Ban tents on beaches. So, Danny, what's funny about what's happening in Wasaga Beach, when we get to that, is that they've actually had to acknowledge now that they're stopping closed wall tents on Wasaga Beach. But if you think it's going to stop them from having any shame to poop there, they don't care. It'll be interesting to say. Snatch saying, "Don't say things like this. This is wrong." Yeah, it is wrong. Let's not be vile. We have to be. The thing is, we have to be better than that. And in fact, with Snatch as a mod, guys, we'll start issuing timeouts if people want to be racist in the chat. In the words of T'Challa, oh, we don't do that here. We still have to be civil. I don't like what's going on in the country. I understand you guys don't like what's going on in the country either. But how we become better is by being better. Right? If we stoop to that level, if we get all barbaric about it, people aren't going to respect our opinions. And that's the thing I often find is that there's times where people try to tell me their opinion when I'm talking politics with them. Again, whether they're from country, whether they're on another viewpoint of a political party. And what I find often is that, again, I've talked about this before with different generations, is that people tend to want to be louder. They want to be more aggressive because they have this misconception that if they're loud and aggressive, somehow that means they're winning the conversation. I miss the good old days where you could say something and say, this is my opinion about something. And the next person could say, well, I disagree with that for these reasons. And then you have a discourse back and forth. And then you say, I still respect you, but I'm agreeing to disagree on the topic because we're all adults. We don't see that anymore. Randy, I'll go stand in the corner for a timeout. Naughty, naughty. Don't go to the piss corner. That's it's if you're afraid of porta potties, then go back in the bushes, way back in the bushes. There are trees, bushes usually close by. Even then, depending on where you are. And I agree, Danny. So what I'm talking about here is Canadians are known for being nice. It's time to drop that. I believe it. I'm sorry, guys. I got to take my hat off. It's too hot down here. I agree with that, but what I mean by we have to drop that is much like I said with the way I seen things in the United States when I was there, is that it's okay to be firm to your beliefs. But I guess my point is, and one thing I found with um strip show says mystical. No, you're not getting a strip show. Listen, I don't want to make women jealous or make kids ask questions. So there will be no strip show. Uh, but here's the thing. I have found from working in the business world for multiple decades that if you want somebody to listen to you and respect you, it's good to stand your ground and it's good to stand by your convictions and have a compelling argument, but enunciate that argument on an intellectual level that somebody will take you serious and hear what you're actually saying to understand your point. And what I mean by that is that if I go into a conversation, if somebody says, I like Justin Trudeau, and I go, ooh, what's wrong with you? You idiot. Why would you vote like that? God, you're such a loser. That person's not going to take me serious. They're going to say, well, you're just a jerk. And they'll walk, or they'll say, F you, or it just snowballs from there. But if somebody says, oh, I like Justin Trudeau, and I go, why? Why? Can I ask why that is? They'll give me some points as to why they think he's good. And I'll say, well, I don't think that's the case. In fact, this is why I think that you shouldn't like Justin Trudeau. And through those kind of conversations, if I have a good rebuttal, those people might learn a thing or two from me and maybe change their mind. If you want respect, you have to give it. And we're definitely not being shown respect by the people who are coming and pooping on our beaches and in our streets. And while I agree that that has to stop and we have to be very frank and very to the point about you don't do that in my country and I'll stand behind my flag any day of the week, I think there's a way to present yourself so that people take you serious and not just as an aggressive entity, if that makes sense. I missed this stream. I missed this stream too. SL, thank you. It's such a great line in the sand podcast. I appreciate that. Thank you, Rick. It's we are too nice enough at times, and I agree with that too. There is a time and a place. So usually, and again, I'm not telling you how to do things. I'm just telling you how I've done things in the past. I'll start a conversation by being the same as we're having this conversation right now, even if I disagree with somebody. Again, if you watch the opening video, one of the greatest owns of all time was Pierre Poilievre with that guy saying you're taking a Trump stance, and people are saying you're taking that stance, and he says, "Who says that? Who are these people? You must know somebody. You said it." Now that was the ultimate own. Now Pierre didn't have to get aggressive with that guy. He used logic to get back at that person, and he embarrassed them at the same time. So typically that's the kind of conversation I'll have with somebody, just like we're having right now, even if I disagree with them. Now, if those people elevate the conversation and turn aggressive or tell me to go pound sand, then yeah, I'll pump it up a little bit and say, something to the extent of, well, that's no way to get ahead in a conversation. I might use some colorful language, but it is not aggressive. It's simply using intelligence to make them look stupid. Because if you leave them looking stupid with nothing more to argue than their obscenities, then guess what, ladies and gentlemen? They're the bad guy. And everybody sees that. When you disagree with people, just lock their bank accounts. Well, see, that's the aggressive approach. That's why, again, and that's a great example. The truckers went to Ottawa and said, we just want to be heard. We just want the prime minister to hear what we have to say, that we want to hear our viewpoint. And Justin Trudeau said, nah, it'll be fine. Locks their bank accounts, smashes their windows, sends them walking. Now, who came out looking good on that one? Not Justin Trudeau, right? Case in point. I've never either. I'd rather go in my pants, honestly, before before that would happen. But my point being is that I'm not saying we have to be nice. I'm just saying that I find that, again, the best advice I could give anybody is that if you articulate yourself in a compelling way, more people in public will listen to you than if you just get aggressive and scream. When I use facts and logic in discussions, the people I talk to just resort to personal attacks. But that speaks to their character. And again, if you're in a room with multiple people, it's going to do nothing more than make them look terrible. And at the same aspect, if there is nobody else in the room, what you have to realize is it's like pounding your head against a brick wall. It's like talking to a brick wall. There is nothing you can say that is going to change their minds. In fact, this is a discussion I have with my kids all the time. The only person you're in control of in your life is yourself, and you can't control other people. You can state your case. If other people don't want to listen to it, not much you can do about it. Now, if somebody was crapping in the streets and you said, hey, I don't agree with that, pick that up, and they don't want to do it, don't scream at them and call them all kinds of obscenities. Report them. Get their license plate. Call the police. Bother the police. Keep following up with the police, saying, did you not harass, but did you charge this person? Did you get in touch with them? Did you press charges? Did you, fine them for doing that? I have video. I have photo. I'll put it on the internet. Those are the ways we handle it and get it to stop. If I was walking down the beach and saw somebody burying their duty in the sand, I'd be saying, you can use that shovel to scoop that up and go put it in a garbage can. And if they said, up yours, I'd just simply say, okay, get a picture of their face. I'd immediately call bylaw, and then I'd say, I'm going to plaster your face all over the internet. Because this isn't cool. You shouldn't be doing this in my country. I would make a complete idiot out of them. Police are useless, DMAC. But if you do your due diligence, other people will take, look. I don't want to keep dancing in circles with it. If you do your due diligence and other people see you doing your due diligence, they'll start doing the same. There's power in numbers. Eventually people will wake up and say, like, if you go, hey, everybody, this guy's pooping on the beach, and you take a video and go, hey, I'm calling bylaw, I'm going to get something done. Other people are going to start going, yeah, I'm calling bylaw too. And somebody will yell, hey, you can't do that. And you might have somebody else come over and say, pick that up right now. Do you see what I'm getting at? Like, it's just, look, live your life however you want, but I'm just saying how I tend to live mine is that it's the bees and honey routine. You're much more guaranteed to get further in life articulating yourself in a reasonable fashion than by being aggressive and name calling, because it does nothing more than add aggression to the pot, and then you're just spinning your wheels in the mud. It doesn't go anywhere. My local police are useless. My son's truck was stolen and we had it on video. The officer said he knew who the guy was and they did nothing except tell us claim it on insurance. Again, those are municipal, provincial, and federal rules that keep the police from doing their job. I don't really know the politics in that. I really don't know the reasons for those things. But again, that's where I'd be calling my MPs. I'd be going to their office, not just writing them a nasty letter. I would physically go to their office and say, who do I talk to? Because I'm going to blast this all over the internet. I'm going to tell them not to vote for you in the next election. Hold them accountable. Even if you like them as MPs, hold them accountable. I've said the same thing. Guys, you all know my stance on my counselor, Dan McLean, who I was probably going to be running against when I said I was going to run for Calgary, the mayor's chair. I called him a fence sitter. And some people that he was with at the Stampede breakfast, I ran into and said, hey, I heard you were calling Dan a fence sitter. I said, yeah, I called him that. Because that's what I feel he does on some of these subjects. He needs to be more vocal. And I had a good chat with Dan while I was at that Stampede breakfast. And I said, I gave everybody your endorsement. I told people that if I'm not going to run, you should be the next guy to get that vote. But you need to be more vocal. You need to tell people how it is. You need to stop being afraid to speak up. And he just said, I haven't made an announcement if I'm going to run yet, but if I do, I'll take that advice. It's okay to agree to disagree, but you got to get on their butts and you got to let them know that if you're not doing the job that you've been voted in to do, then I'm going to replace you with somebody else. Where's the nearest beach? I sure hope not. I sure hope not. Look, we could go on and on all night about the police, about their lack or refusal to do their jobs. Look, we all know what's relevant. We all know I'm not defending the police here. I'm not going to defend anything. It's the bottom line is that the country's gone to crap, literally, no pun intended. As I stated earlier in the video, and if you missed it, if you were late to the stream, go and check out why I think Justin Trudeau's time is coming to an end. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, I will have to say I'm going to have to cut the stream. We're going to have to wind it down because we're an hour and a half in, and this basement is boiling. I don't know about where you're at in the country right now, but it is absolutely boiling, especially in this hoodie. I should have been more well prepared for the stream, but again, I'm trying to help Mrs. Fringe get ready for her camping weekend so she can get out of here tomorrow morning, first thing in the morning. And again, as we wrap up, I will remind everybody there again is no live stream next Friday unless it's a random guerrilla style stream for half an hour from my cell phone with Mrs. Fringe. But I will be out of town house shopping as we're talking about moving out of Calgary. It was the only opportunity we had to go look at this town outside of Calgary. So I will be gone for the weekend. But again, I hope you guys have a great week. I hope you enjoy the videos. Again, a reminder, there's no video Monday because of the long weekend. Unless something pops up and I feel like it needs to get out there for Monday, I might drop like a fun video or something. I will do more fun live streams this week to make up for the lack of Friday's stream being missing. So keep your eyes peeled for the fun streams. I hope you guys are enjoying those. I know a lot of people who pop into the chats enjoy those fun gaming / get to know the Fringe streams. I'm enjoying them. We talked about nostalgia, the 80s, the 90s, all last stream. If you guys are into those kind of things, come and join me in those streams. It's a lot of fun. I really like chatting with you guys in those streams. It's a blast. It's an absolute hoot and a holler. I know it's not politics, but again, I'm thinking about bringing a little more variety to this channel so that you guys can kind of have an all-in-one place to go for everything. And I'm looking forward to what I got coming up for you guys in the future. Have a great weekend. Stay warm, or stay cool from the heat, I should say. Stay safe. If you're out driving around this long weekend, please do not drink and drive. Please think of others. Please be safe. Look after each other. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I'll catch you this week with the entertainment as well as the fun stream. Until then, take care. I'll catch you on the next one. See you guys later.